What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing some fun bodywork stuff on our Victory Function wide body over fender, pretty much Evo 10. And I'm excited for this. This car looks like complete trash right now. And that's because it is a few different colors. It is red, it is silver, and it is unpainted primer. So we got Victory Function fenders up front and rear, the various skirts, various front bumper and rear bumper, and then there is a Duluck trunk on it that is painted red. I have decided we are going to be vinyl wrapping this car. It's going to be a pretty wild, different setup when it's all finished up. But before we wrap it, of course, we need to get all the bodywork finished up on the, or fixed on the car. And you already know, we are doing hidden hardware. And the main reason for that is number one, well, there's two reasons. Number one, it looks really, really good. We have hidden hardware on both of our other wide body cars. Let me head out to the parking lot and show you guys. So both of these cars we did the hidden hardware on, and I think it looks amazing. This car is wrapped, this car is painted. As you can see, no exposed bolts on either car. Now I did mess up on this one. I was in a little bit of a rush. As you can see right here, one of the heads of the bolts kind of popped out and got exposed. And the reason for that is I believe the panel bond that we used did not dry long enough before I kind of messed with it. So I'm not going to make that same mistake again on the Evo 10. And the second reason for it is because on the front of the car, it's a complete replacement front fender, as you guys can see. So there is no hardware whatsoever on the front. I think it looks a little bit funny with hardware on the rear, none on the front. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and pull off the over fender. So I only got a couple bolts on there right now. We need to pull out all of the riv nuts out of the quarter panels. Now, of course, this guy is going to have to be situated as well under the gas cap, but that should not be a big deal. So one thing we do need to do before we go ahead and knock out this project is we have to make sure we can get to the backside of the studs. So basically, we're gonna have a bolt epoxied on the over fender, and then we're gonna have to reach through the backside, through the inside of the trunk, and put the nut on. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the trunk, tear apart the trunk liner, and make sure we can access all of these points. If you look back here, you can see the backside of these three riv nuts right here. Of course, this one's easy to get to. This one right here, got to pop open the gas lid and you can reach it right here. This one right here and this one right here, we cannot get to. And I do have the upper part of the back seat out as well. And from what I'm seeing, there's no access point to those. So we can either pop a hole in from underneath and plug it when we get the nut on, or we can just not worry about it. These things do fit really, really nice. So we should be good with those four there. And then of course we can bolt it on down here. That one's all good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and remove all of the riv nuts out of the quarter panel. I decided that both of these missing is going to be probably a little bit floppy, especially being on the front of the wide body panel. I don't want the air picking that thing up, so I punched a hole right there so we can get to the backside, as you guys can see. And then what we do is we're going to take this plug, of course after everything's bolted down, and that plug goes right inside that hole. So we're going to be using all of the factory hardware minus one bolt there, which that's going to be a problem. We can always put a little bit of 3M tape right there if need be, but I don't see that being a problem. So everything with the quarter panels of the car is ready to go. Now we do need to go ahead and prep out the wide body panels. So they have, honestly, I don't know what you call this white, is that gel coat maybe? I sound dumb right now, but it's okay. We need to get that down to the bare fiberglass. You can see right there, it's black in the center and white around it. So we need it all black where that bolt is gonna sit, so that epoxy, that panel bond that we're gonna be using has something to adhere to. And what I'm using is this little tiny Dremel attachment on the drill. Seems to be working pretty good. We have the rear panels all finished up, ready to go. You can see I took quite a bit of that white coating, or the gel coat. I'm gonna call it gel coat for the video. Took quite a bit of that white gel coat off. I really don't want these things to break loose like they did on the FRS. And then on this gas cap cover, I did decide to add another bolt in. One bolt in the center. I feel like it's just gonna kind of slide around on its own whenever it wants. So I went ahead, drilled a hole all the way through, made a recessed area for the head of the bolt, and now we can just fill that later on and we'll be good to go. So what we're gonna do now is clean the areas we're gonna be panel bonding with wax and grease remover, and then we need to mount them up on the car. So let's get them set up on the car. I'm just gonna use some clamps and some tape and whatnot to get them sitting where they need to sit, run through with wax and grease remover, and then we start slapping down the 3M panel bond. Actually, today I think I'm using Norton. Pretty sure I already have some Norton panel bond here that I used on the Widebody STI, and it seemed to work just fine. Here's what it looks like. I will have a link down below, and here's the gun that you need. Something similar looking to this. I'll have panel bond and gun linked down below. We just got the panels cleaned up and we are ready for action. So this is a 2-part epoxy. You need to have that mixing tube on there so it mixes the 2 parts. And I would go ahead and squirt about 1 inch out just to make sure it's properly mixed before you start slapping this on the panels. So what we're gonna do is take our bolts here. We're gonna put just a dab of the epoxy on the head of the bolt. We're then gonna stick it through the panel, throw an Allen wrench on it, go on the back side, and throw a nut on it, and then we can fill the top of this here with the epoxy, and then we got to let it sit for, I think it's about 24 hours. So we have to let that set up for a while. I took a look at the tube and it shows 90-minute open time, 4-hour working time, 8-hour standing time, 24-hour full cure time. I did go ahead and fix up a couple issues on the fenders as well, on the front fenders. So we had a crack there, little hole right there, and then 2 little issues on this side that I figured I'd fix at the same time. 20 hours later, we are ready to pull these panels off. This panel bond dries super, super hard. So here's where we're at right now. The studs are poking through the backside. We have big lumps of epoxy that we need to go ahead and sand down. So I'm gonna grab some 80 grit on the DA and knock those completely down flat and flush with the panel. Here is how it should look sanded down. No more high spots, definitely still some low spots. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a little bit of filler and fill in the low spots with this here filler. We got the panels flat sanded with 80 grit. I use this little block right here. Just throw 80 grit disc on there. Get it nice and flat sanded out. Now we're gonna go ahead and put some glazing putty over it. So like I said, that was 80 grit. The glazing putty we're gonna use is stuff right here, extra final glaze. And the main reason I like to use glazing putty, especially on fiberglass panels, is when you start sanding on them and get that gel coat off, you're gonna see little pinholes. So everywhere that's black, I'm gonna glaze just to make sure all the pinholes are completely filled in. One important thing, between each step, I'm cleaning the panel with wax and grease remover just to make sure everything, all the products that we're applying adhere properly. The glaze is gonna be sanded with 180 grit on that same flat block, and then we're gonna finish it off with 220. Three pieces are all finished up. This is how it should look. So this is handed down with 180 then 220. Before we go ahead and primer these pieces, I'm gonna hit everything with 320 on the DA with this interface pad. It's just a soft foam pad, just so that filler primer doesn't have such deep sand scratches to fill. So let's go ahead and sand the whole entire panel down. I'm not gonna primer the whole entire panel. I'm just gonna be primering, of course, the areas that we did the body work on. Just cleaned up the panels with wax and grease remover. Primer of choice is MP172 High Build 2K Surfacer made by Omni. So we do 4 parts of that, 1 part of hardener, 1 part of medium reducer. Probably gonna do 3 coats of filler primer on these pieces, and then we can sand them down later. All right, my dudes, panels are primered. I'm gonna let these chill for, I would say 3 days. It's super, super warm outside right now, but I must say this is the best body work I've ever done. It was not only the quickest I've ever been able to accomplish something like this, but also the best work. There's no nasty pinholes. There's no nothing. They're gonna look so nice, all finished up on the car. I'm very excited for this. If you're wondering, we are gonna sand this down with 600 grit, wet on a nice little flexible block. The whole reason for the primer was just to fill in all the sand scratches and any sort of little tiny defects. You can't, of course, fill like big stuff with a filler primer. That's what the actual filler's for, but yeah, I am very, very excited. I think they're gonna look sick. Here is a little shot, no hardware up front and no hardware now in the back. This is one of the best things I think you could do on a wide body car to make it super, super clean, and it looks clean. Everything that we used in today's video, I will link down in the description box below. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this helps you out if you're gonna do hidden hardware on your car. It's honestly very, very easy. It is time consuming, but if you follow the steps I just showed you guys, it's easy, it's simple. Peace out, my friends. I will see you guys tomorrow.